Cheers, everybody. Turning into a weekly event, this, but I love doing them. Welcome to another poll question video. Love doing these. It gives me a great idea of people's preferences, of people who watch me, what they like and what they think of things. So, last week's question was, what is your favourite can wrap? Now, I should really have put, what is your favourite beer can bottle wrap? I didn't want it to primarily kind of like be solely for cans. Anything you like, beer, on a beer bottle or beer can, what artwork you appreciate or anything. What do you really like? Now, let's go back to the fundamentals of beer can design. I think it's a fairly new thing um, in terms of beer history because I think when you look at the likes of certain breweries, it was really the craft beer boom which kind of like catapulted beer artwork into the mainstream, if you want to call it that. When you look at the very first Beavertown can I ever saw, um, and you saw the artwork on it, it felt different. It felt it portrayed the beer as something that is more accessible for people of a younger age. And we're talking about proper beer. We're not talking about lagers and stuff. Trendy, if you want to call it that. And so over the years, you've seen um, beer can arts go through certain phases. I think we've had cartoony type art going to more sophisticated, what I call, posh wallpaper type of art, which the polys are pretty good at. Um, and so I think the art itself now is seen from a brewing and selling perspective just as important as the beer itself, to get people buying it. So I think for me, yeah, it's good to see. I like the artwork on most stuff. Um, for me, it's fundamental to still be original in your artwork, and if it makes people buy your beer, then you know that's the main thing of the game, isn't it? So we've got some comments here, which I will run through. We'll start with the top. Lee 73. I'm a sucker for traditional looking bottle can wraps. Love the German ones like Schenkerla and Tegernsee. Totally agree with you, Lee. I'm a big sucker for traditionalism. Um, I think Germans are fantastic at doing stuff like that, aren't they? They're brilliant. I remember having that 12 bottle case at Christmas, the German Christmas beer case I had. I love the artwork, so I know where you're coming from. And also, yeah, he says Samuel Smith wraps, and I'm again with you. Samuel Smith, their bottle wraps are fantastic. I love the old school history, the style of art as well. What they're trying to portray themselves as uh, uh, a brewery steeped in rich brewing history, and it does work. It does, and usually with Samuel Smith's, the beer does match the artwork as well, which is a bonus. So totally get with you where you're coming from with that, Lee. A special mention to a couple of craft brewery wraps, Colonel and Beak. Now, Colonel, totally different style of bottle wrap, isn't it? Like a cardboard brown paper bag type of thing with just a simple name of the brewery and the beer and the hops. Fantastic, effective, different, original. And one of my favourite modern craft beer uh, breweries, Beak, their can wraps, different, simple, but I like them. I'm a big fan of Beak. Yeah, the can wraps are fantastic. So cheers for that, Lee. Ovalian Cheers, mate. He says, for me, anything by Brujos is great. I don't keep many old cans, but one kept his Holy Goat's Wrath of the Tyrant. That's the one's a good as the Brujos Art. I remember the Brujos Art. I hope I pronounced that right. I remember seeing their beers, and yeah, they did stand out on the shelf, I have to say. Joan B, he says, any beer from KCBC. I've got one up there. Yeah, I know where you're coming from with that. Great artwork. Um, yeah, it's kind of like DC Comics style in a way for me. Most of their cans stand out to be great artwork, but also like the minimalism of Omnipolo. Yeah, you can be minimalist in your can and bottle art. You know, it can be just as impactful, even more impactful to the buyer. So yeah, totally get where you're coming from. Cheers for that, Joan B. Andy K 3412 Dark Revolution. Yes, I've done some beers from them. Nice can art. Tataris. They kind of like. See, when you look at Tataris can art, it's more down to, I think, for a taste of a certain, what appeals to certain people, what things are certain people into. Um, yeah, I've always seen Tataris can art as appealing to a certain crowd as opposed to a universal crowd. I know where you're coming from with that. Great artwork though. The Northern Monk patrons project are always eye catching. Yes, the thing is, what I love about the Patrons Project, I should have had a can down here, is that if you take off the label, it has added information on the inside, which is brilliant. I'm not too sure if Brew York started to do that or not. Tell us in the comments. Yeah, it provides extra information on the pull-out can wrap. Cheers for that, Andy. Dave, Urban Viking Hour review. Please go and sub to him. So far, I'll say Tataris, as they have some cracking artwork. I love the whole mythology thing. Yeah, I think that hit the nail on the head regarding Tataris. They are, I don't think it appeals to everybody. It all depends if you're into certain, styles of music or whatever, sci-fi or whatever. Azvex, you could say the same because a lot of the Azvex cans they have this kind of like fantasy theme to them. And again, does it appeal to a certain, from a brewing perspective, from running a brewery, you want to sell as many cans as you can, irrespective. And I suppose you do hinder your chances if you're just aiming towards a certain crowd of people or whatever. So yeah, cheers for that, Dave. Baz, all there being no idea, he says, bloody hell, mate, these are supposed to be fun. You're making them too hard. I'm sorry. Just coming up with some great ideas. I'll work on vitamin C brewing cans. It's top notch. I have done a vitamin C beer in the past. I did have it up there. I feel I chucked it out. American Brewery. I think I've only drunk one so far, but great beer too. Yeah, again, a lot of the US beers have some great can art. Have I got any up there showing off at the moment? Don't think I have. Oh, I got some. Yeah, I got some Hot Butcher ones there. Steve Austin's great artwork, isn't it? Dean's commented. Cheers, mate. Dean's beer reviews. Please go and sub. Please go and sub Baz and Dave, Urban Viking. I used to love the Beavertown artwork. The Beavertown artwork, as I said at the beginning of the video, I think is very iconic. It was the beginning of the craft beer revolution in terms of can art for me. Yeah, Brewdog was there and Northern Monk, all these breweries were there, but for me, I think at the time, I think Beavertown did push the envelope regarding can art, and I think they still do in a way. They've got their own style, and I've always been critical of Beavertown because the can art, well, the beers never matched the can art in some terms. There's not worse than opening a can of beer which looks fantastic, and I've had all this stuff put on the can, and it looks brilliant, and you drink the beer and it's piss water. Nothing worse than that, is there, mate? But alas, the content's no longer made. Yeah, just same with old Witchwood bottles back in the day. Yeah, Witchwood were brilliant bottles, and Witchwood, if you go before the craft beer scene or whatever you want to call it, Witchwood were ahead of their time regarding uh, their can, the bottle art, because it had a running theme, a little bit like Tataris. You could say Witchwood was, you know, influencing Tataris in a way, because they had a lot of fantasy theme within their range of beers. I think it worked more for Witchwood than Tataris, to be honest, to a degree. Um, but it's just, so sad when you talk about Witchwood these days and what has happened to that brewery. It's I'm speechless how bad, how sad it is really regarding that. So cheers, Gene. Cheers, Gene. Cheers, Dean, mate. Get all false. I haven't got false, Steve. No. Cheers, Dean, mate. Thanks for commenting. Ale Desert Station says Anarchy Brew. Yes, great artwork. Asvex, like I say, Emperors, Amundsen Brewery. It's all great artwork. Totally agree with you, Christoph. It's it's to make your head turn. And I suppose you could be overwhelmed in a bottle shop if you go into a bottle shop and you see this wall of cans. Every can's got a brilliant piece of artwork to it. It makes it all harder for Joe Public to choose a beer, maybe, you know? You know what I mean? So, yeah, cheers for that, Christoph. And Scott Review sings, cheers, mate. He says Foster's. Now, I know he's taking a piss and being comical. Cheers for that. But there is a little bit ounce of, you know, you can, he's being funny by saying Foster's. I get it. But when you think about it seriously, that big red F has actually made them universally known in a way, hasn't it? When you think about it, Foster's branding is massive. Even though very simple, it's still, everybody knows that Foster's branding wherever they go. So it's worked for them. So even though he's been funny by putting Foster's, when you think about it, it has worked. Is it his favourite though? Is it his favourite can art? I suppose it is. He said it, innit? It's Foster's his favourite can art. So cheers for that, Scott. Much appreciated. So looking at the comments, I think overall I have to say that everybody has a big appreciation for can art. Even Scott, he has a big appreciation for can art, and it does play into the whole experience of buying a good beer, doesn't it? The can art. I love can art. Irrespective of some of these beers in here, which are not that great, some of them in there. I'm not going to say which ones, but the can art does pull you in, and the originality of some of the artwork, it just blows my mind sometimes. How they can, all these breweries can still consistently bring out some great can art. So I think it's the part of the beer culture which I really, really do enjoy is the artwork. Some of this artwork on these can labels I would have in posters around my house because some of it's so good. So for me, what is my favourite beer can art? Well, I've mentioned Beak, I've mentioned Samuel Smith's, anything traditional. A lot of the German stuff I absolutely love. The traditional look of the labels, absolutely adore. Just looking up there, anything else that reminds me what can art I love? Anything really. I haven't really got a real preference to a brewery for can art. If they can, bring out something that you know, strikes a chord visually, I will buy it. So overall, thank you so much again, everybody, for commenting on this. Been a great video, and I'm going to put another question or poll up next week for you all to comment on, and I will do another video. I'm loving doing these videos, and thank you again, everybody, for the comments and everything. It's been brilliant. So see you all again on another nerdy beery video. Cheers, everybody. Bip bip.